week where politics has rudely intruded into everyone's lives. And to help us steer our way through the issues without stepping on any hidden pasties are two guests. They are Neil Carmichael, the Conservative from Stroud, and a Labour activist from Bristol, Thangam Debbonaire, who describes herself as a left-wing feminist. Thangam is very busy at the moment, not least because she's getting married tomorrow. So welcome to you all.
Thank you.
And now, Thangam, first of all, that election result this week from Bradford, where Labour got slaughtered, is that going to spoil your honeymoon?
Well, it's certainly given every Labour Party member something to think about. I think it would be foolish of us not to take it seriously and to see that what George Galloway has done is given all three main political parties a warning that we need to be listening very hard to what voters are saying.
You can listen, but you need to move to the left?
I think at the moment, when it's poor people that are being affected the worst, when we've got 2.67 million people out of work, when we've got nearly over 1 in 5 young people out of work, there's never been a more important time to be standing up for poor and working people.
And they didn't, the electorate there didn't think you were?
The electorate there chose George Galloway, but I think what they didn't do was choose someone on the right, and I think that's very noticeable, because in the last 2 weeks we've had a millionaire's budget, which is being paid for by the millions.
Sustainable development. Any idea what that actually means?
I'm not sure that anybody's really too sure, David, exactly what that means at the moment. And as it said on the piece, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. What concerns me is, of course, we've got a housing crisis, we've got people who need jobs and who need homes, and we do need more development for both of those things. The concerning thing in that report was this default position that we start out by assuming that development is what's going to happen and then work backwards. And that
you would prefer to start out saying development shouldn't happen?
No, I think what I'd prefer is a system that ordinary people can understand and take part in, and that's what's concerning me at the moment. I've tried to sort of grapple with the new regulations myself, and I know many other people who are interested in planning and concerned about what's going to happen in their neighbourhood who aren't going to have the time to find out how they can participate.
But the worry is that things never seem to happen.
Yeah.
You've lived in Bristol a long time, as have I.
Yeah.
It takes an age.
Yes, it does. We've seen that with the Bristol City Football Club, of course. You know, this is a problem, and nobody wants planning decisions to go on interminably, because what can happen then is the reason why they were going to be built has disappeared. So yes, obviously it's a good thing to try and simplify planning regulations. The concern for me is the default towards development.
You stood in Bristol last year and you weren't successful. You're planning to stand again, I understand, for Labour. Why? I mean, long hours, no pay, and the devil's own abuse from the electorate.
Absolutely. I mean, why, first of all, very simply, somebody's got to. And second of all, Tom was mentioning there about whether or not a private firm would want to open up its doors to a wider spectrum of people. I actually think that the smart private firm, just like the smart council, wants as wide a diversity of people as possible. Otherwise, you're not taking your talent from the whole pool. The problem with most local government politics, and I'd say also with national politics to a certain extent, is it's not just about the money, it's also about the conditions, it's also, as you saw on that film there, it's about people feeling that they haven't got the time. I think most people don't realise just how hard work it is to be a councillor, just how much of that either interferes with your ability to hold down a job, which you would need to on the comparatively low remuneration for backbench councillors. You've got to do two. It takes time.
In that case, then, don't you want people who've actually been around for a bit, perhaps run their own companies, perhaps worked in medicine or whatever, and can come and actually offer some expertise?
Yep, you want that as well, but you do need a representative cross-section of the population if you're truly going to represent the needs of the people that you're serving. I'm proud that in the Labour Party in Bristol, for instance, next year, we will be fighting with a majority of women candidates in the inner city seats, with a wide range of ethnicities.
What do women bring that men don't?
I'm proud that for Stroud as well.
Good for Stroud. What do women bring that men can't?
It's not about having a different personality. I think it's just that if you don't have women involved, then basically you're being run by people that don't have the same understanding, perhaps, of the things that are affecting women. I mean, at the moment, for instance, the cuts that, unfortunately, the coalition government is imposing on ordinary working people are affecting women and children worst. At local government, they're losing services, but also they're losing the tax credits which help them stay in work.
Now, bringing that understanding,
you still have to make cuts. It does, because one of the things that local councils have to do is to help cope with the demands that arises because of the suffering that people are under, because of the strain that people are under, and that makes it important that we have a representative selection of people actually serving on the council who understand those things and know what is needed to be able to fix it. Not to spend more money, but to spend the same money wisely.
What's extremely...
Phew, what a week. Let's just pick up on one of those stories before we go. Nuclear power and the decision by the two big companies not to get involved means Oldbury may not get a nuclear power station after all. Has the boat sailed for nuclear power? Is it just...
It hasn't sailed away because, first of all, if we are going to have enough energy for the future, we've got to have a base load, and that really will be provided by nuclear power. It's important that we look
Who's going to build it, though?
Well, we're going to have
to look no subsidies.
Well, we're going to have to look for other investors. I think the key thing is that we've got to upskill our workforce and engineering to tackle this problem.
Is this the end of nuclear power, do you think? The beginning of the end in this country?
Well, as Neil said, we need to be looking at how we're going to manage over the next 20, 30, indefinitely years. And one of the things that I'm afraid that's happened is that under Neil's government, the subsidies for green power and for alternative forms of energy have been removed. And instead of being like India and China, you know perfectly well that the feed-in tariff was abolished.
No, it wasn't.
You know perfectly well that it was, and that makes a big difference. And as a result of that, many companies have withdrawn from that market. And instead of investing in green technology, as we are in India and China, we're lagging behind.
OK, thank you both very much.